I felt it was very, very important for us to meet this morning while we had the opportunity with Mr. Teo Ah King to be in our presence. As many of you would know, last night I showed for the first time the vision for View Fort. I want to go back in history a little bit. That when this project started, this project included the mangrove. That's how the project was initially designed. So we had the horse racing track, and the hotel development and resort development was supposed to be taking place within the mangrove with an idea of enhancing the mangrove, because we've seen that the mangrove has been dying. And we wanted to be able to incorporate development and show that you can have development as well as being ecologically very sensitive at the same time. Unfortunately, the garbage dump, which has been seeping for many years into the mangrove, has been a problem for us. The responsibility of closing the mangrove as well as relocating the mangrove fell upon the state. At a meeting with DSH, that we indicated to them that we did not have the technical capacity in our minds to be able to do that. And we would have to pass on that responsibility to them. But that the little bit of analysis that we had done is that even if we were to close the dump and remove the dump, we have no idea how long it would have taken before that the seeping would have stopped, and how much seeping was taking place, and how much it was going to cost to be able to stop that. And because that became an uncertainty, that even for them to undertake that by themselves would put the timelines for the project into jeopardy. So a team was put together with DSH to look for alternative sites. We went down as far as Labrie and Choiseul. We went to Rivadori, we went to Safi, we went as far north as Trumasse, looking at potential alternative sites for the development. As you know, for a very long time, Invest and Lucia, under both regimes, had identified the location by Il Pirata as a development site, and they had also identified the location at Point Sab as a location site. In fact, the previous government had actually relocated people at one point, thinking that the project was about to come about, and those people have since moved back to that site. So DSH indicated that those would be their two preferred sites, and let them go back and put some plans together. So they put together a plan for the Il Pirata site, which included a casino, a marina, and also a cruise ship berth, along with a hotel as well as some residential areas. So it was improving the mangrove area. And I have to say that the level of study that was taking place, they did not even look at the current channels of water. They went back and looked at historical graphs to find out where the water naturally went previously, because a lot of work had been done to retrain the surface water that was coming down from the hills. So they went back and actually looked at those studies. So the second part was the part in front of Point Sab, of which they identified to be able to put apartment buildings and also some small hotels in the area on the opposite the concrete road. A national park was maintained, and we indicated there was no hotels that were going to be on the beach, so that the sandy beach area remained a public beach and public stretch. When they studied the area, what they found out was that the depth of water in that bay, in the Point Sab Bay, was actually very, very shallow. In fact, the initial studies showed that it was about 5 meters deep. To put that in comparison, when Mr. Ah King did the development in Dubai, it was 26 meters deep. So this is, substantially shallower than that area. And he put together a proposal to talk about building a causeway in the bay. This was proposed to Cabinet. Cabinet appreciated and accepted that this was not clearly the final draft, but Cabinet agreed to the concept of being able to reclaim land in that bay. given the basic information that had been provided, and commissioned Mr. Ah King as well as DSH to go back and put a study. As I indicated at the press conference we did some weeks ago, the reason why we came out with the original design is that while we were doing the study, what I did not want to happen is that that design would have made it out into the public, and the public would have perceived in any way that we were trying to hide anything, and that we were doing anything that was untoward. So it was better for us to come out and say that this is a preliminary proposal, that the intention is for us not to touch Maria Island. In fact, Mr. Ah King said that, I said that, and I believe that Mr. Joseph also indicated that. And that what we were hoping is within the next couple of weeks that we would have a better design that would have incorporated a lot of the ecological issues that people naturally brought up, and well, ones that we were also concerned with. Mr. King and his team, and that's why I wanted him here today, to be able to go through the process as to how he got to where we are today. Because sometimes I think that there's an impression that there's somebody in the back that's just putting drawings together to make this thing happen. And I certainly wanted to share with you, and hopefully through you to the public of St. Lucia, how this process is going. So let me repeat some very fundamental things. One, the only part of this project that has been approved by the government has been the horse racing track. The only part of the project that has actually submitted drawings and an application to the DCA has been the horse racing track. There's been no other applications to the DCA until we reach a concept that we both sign off on. And once we've done that, and I'm hoping that we've gotten to that point now, now that he will develop those details, work with the DCA to make sure that it's in keeping with the standards of St. Lucia. The framework agreement, as I indicated in one of my interviews, is continuously a work in progress. The framework agreement is a binding contract, but it's a binding contract that says, before we finalize any agreement, let's work through these things. We're making decisions on things we do not know. And as we reach those barriers and we determine for ourselves what the truth is, then it becomes part of the final contract. So we're hoping that very soon that we will be able to finalize a contract with DSH. The reason why a framework agreement is not made public, because it's still a position of negotiation. We're still determining what those things are, what makes sense for them, what also makes sense for government, because let us not underestimate. Nobody is going to invest in St. Lucia because they just love St. Lucia and they're going to lose money. We know that. We have several investors who've come to St. Lucia, and it's always the intention that it's a strategic decision for them, and when which they believe, they start off believing that they can make money. But there's always a risk involved. It is for us to negotiate a position that there is a win-win situation for everyone. So after saying that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Teo Ah King, allow him to go through the process as to how he got to our latest design, which I'm extremely excited about. And I have to say to you, I was at a conference, a UNWTO conference in Lucian last week, and we were able to show some big investors the drawings, and the level of excitement to think that this is where St. Lucia is going was really palatable at the meeting. So again, Mr. Teo Ah King, if I can get you to the podium.
My name is Teo, and you can call me Teo, and Teo Ah King is my full name. I come here and stand here today wearing two hats. First and foremost, as a professional architect and planner that have done, and a company have executed many plans I'm going to show you in a minute. And secondly, as a chairman of DSH, that I've come to this island now. Probably today is my 15th time in a short year, and I have also met the leadership in both administration. And I must say something today that before I go on, we have lost a comrade in St. Lucia. His name is Winston. And it was Winston, one of the guy who enthusiastically and came and see me and allowed me to have a chance to come here. And we lost him just a couple of weeks ago in an accident. And I'd just like to say that it is a great loss to us. But the country, the vision, the dream must move on. We remember his contribution. And I'd like to say that I also have like to visit the family very soon. Now, if I could just turn to the main subject, what Prime Minister talked about today. We do not have this plan. These are kept in the archives. And you need to have authority to access. You know why? Because it talked about the sea chart, talk about all the reserve and sand deposit in within 5 kilometer area. We did not have that. When we talk about the opportunity to your product area, to do a reclamation, to put it in an international water, to make St. Lucia as the tourism center on the yachting and the entertainment. Let me explain the sea chart. We have Marie Island, the 2 yellow color, Marie Island, and you notice the sea chart very clearly depict the limit of the corals, the green color. And we didn't have that information, but we knew by eye, by survey, by flying over, we knew there are corals. But we do not know how far they are because we do not have the survey. These survey plans help us a lot as a data, as a planner and to see. Our earlier proposal, as our Prime Minister indicated, was to cut off the energy from the Atlantic and to connect here. That was our proposal, earlier proposal. If you remember this proposal, it was announced. It was just a concept to see whether this land, because by eye, we noticed that these are very shallow. Prime Minister, the shallow spot is 2.5 meters, right? And the deepest part here is 9 meters. I like you all to focus on this basin here, which has a lot of sea life, a lot of nice coral, and it's very good for diving. 9 meters. Let's go down, 9 meters. This is perfect, and it's sheltered, and therefore the blue area are 2.5 to 4 meters maximum. Now, next slide. We go further in, 5 meters, 2.7 meters, 3 meters, 2.7 meters. All right. The earlier call for these are all the rocky area, all the cross are rocky area. These are the corals. We have done since then in March. We have done detailed hydraulic studies. St. Lucian are blessed that we do not have a high tidal change. Other countries have 3 meter up to 6 meter of tidal changes, meaning high tide and low tide. In St. Lucia, in this part of South St. Lucia, the tidal changes is only 2 feet. From high tide to the low tide, 2 feet like this. To us, it's negligible. But therefore, that helps us in terms of execution, in terms of marketing, because a lot of yacht owner wanted to know whether their boat are parked at the pontoon, which go up and down, or they can be stabilized. And this itself, the tidal pattern suits us to make it into an international destination. First, for the boat consideration. Secondly, is the channel. How are you going to make this into a safe harbor for the boat to park? Because we know that we have a heavy wave energy coming from the Atlantic side, right? And we have then seriously look at all these givens in the south with the headland here. And based on the computer simulation and based on our experience, we came out with the slides that I'm going to show you now. This is not the first version. These are after the rendering of about 30, 40 version.
First is to mist up. This is the headland here currently. Sorry, the airport, right? And this is the national park that Prime Minister talked about. This headland is to replicate another marine island. First and foremost, it's pull back 400 meters away from the marine island and allow the coral to be at the bait. You can see that the corals here. From the bait of the coral, set back another 50 meters, set back 250 meters to create a nice beach over this side. That's first attempt to finally, after the hydraulic studies, first is to preserve the coral and the marine island. Secondly is to allow this to be serviced in future, that it's going to be a must-see, must-visit site. I mean, people, tourists and local can come and visit marine island if they so wish. But there's no bridges, no infrastructure to connect. We're pulling back. There's a first improvement. We thought that this is desirable. Secondly, is you see this line here. We create another line by reclamation to then suggest that the wave energy that comes through here will be all absorbed by these artificial beaches facing the Atlantic Ocean, allowing the boat entrance to face southeast, perpendicular to the wave energy coming this way, and allow the boat to come in this way. And remember just now I mentioned about the depth of the water right in the middle, 7 to 9 meters. It is a natural, we don't have to dredge. All the sea life underneath here will be preserved. And that will be one of our attractions for tourists, that you can do a scuba diving straight down here in the south. All right? Beautiful water, warm, no sharks. All right? This is two major contributions. We thought that this plan now is taking shape. Now the third important thing that I want to explain, and if Prime Minister allow me to go on further, is to pull all the reclamation away from the mainland. You notice that there's a sea channel. Can I have next slide, please? To pull the reclamation away from the mainland, which is yellow color, and to allow a channel of water, this water to pass through. As I said earlier on, maybe some of you is too detailed, the tidal is 2 feet. But that 2 feet is enough to allow us to flush and bring oxygen and food and nutrients into here. This I would call the best fishing channel in the whole Caribbean. Fishes will come in over here, right? Clear water, 2.5 meter, shallow, existing beach preserve. We created another nice beach here, which is 1.2 kilometer. The same length as this beach here, but it curved, right? So, in a nutshell, all the shallow land has been taken, and then we allow this channel of water. This is 11 meters, 14 meters, 7 meters, 11 meters, and 9 meters. This channel of boat to come in, and super yacht can come in. Now, when super yacht come in, they bring a lot of business opportunity for local to service them. Super yacht, right? They kept here, and we can keep all the major events in here. We are also planning, hopefully, with support from International Federation of the Yacht Racing Club, we can host an international event in not too distant future, meaning America's Cup, all the big international racing, just as we hope that we have a big international racing for horses. Likewise, for this community here, we have up to about 2,000 homes and 22 hotels are located on the beachfront here, and some homes and beaches and a hotel here. That's how it's a preliminary plan. It's a land use to test the densities in terms of access, transportation on the island, road networking, and its capacity to hold without create traffic congestion. The creation of 2 connections also allow for guarded and gated. So I mean secure, that we can monitor the in and out of the island. And again, let me highlight. Look at the marine island, and you can see the coral. Can you? Over here? And this they pull back. This, in my opinion, is the best beaches comparing to the West Caribbean Sea. I think what we are doing now on the Atlantic side we are creating a similar Caribbean beaches over on this side of the Atlantic. Okay, next.
Now, that's what I foresee, that in St. Lucia, maybe we could, like our Prime Minister said, have several of these schools to upgrade our local skilled labor force, so that they themselves can also, in the process of development, have the career advancement from waiter to the manager level, right? They need to be trained somehow, and we are very happy to work with such institution. And that means that St. Lucian will be the first priority, because we talk to people in Royalton and others, where you from? I just came from the other hotel. So it's a net loss, basically. One hotel opened, other hotel lost their employees. We don't want that to happen. I think that's what means that there is an opportunity for overall skilled labor to upgrade. And that venue, that institution need to start now. Doesn't mean that when we have a hotel, then we start looking for people. We must do advance 2-3 years and start this. And Desert Star is committed. We are committed to do that. It sounds very unreal, but that's what we are. If you go to our hotel and you interview the local community, over 200 residents, everybody loves us because we are part of them. We do not import foreign element into their hotel. And I speak with my hand in my heart, and you guys can go and do some research on that. All right?
So I just want to add a point before it's lost. That is why the hospitality school has been opened up in the south. Right? So we've already started the process, and part of the NICE monies have been moved into an apprenticeship program in which we're supporting the training of these kids. So we're taking these kids, giving them 6 months training, and the hope is also to send them to existing hotels, but also on the cruise industry. Because we knew there's going to be a huge demand for workers, and we don't have them now. We don't even have the hotels to absorb them. We've just graduated, I think it's 150 kids from the south. I tell you, the response has been phenomenal. I'm very happy to say that all of them have been employed. 3/4 of them are going on cruise ships, and 1/4 is going on hotels. So I'm very excited, and the goal is to bring that number up to 500. So we can start anticipating. And most kids are not going to last more than 3 to 4 terms on a ship. And it's tough work, all right? So the goal is to start building that capacity up right now. As to what we're doing. So I just want to reaffirm what Mr. Teo Ah King is. We're not just saying it. The actions have already started to be able to support what we're saying.
Now, the racetrack project is a long-term gestation. But every horse that we bring into the country, this is for real, will create 5 jobs. Every horse, every single horse, thoroughbred. Because you need a jockey, you need grooms, you need vet, you need trainer, so on and so forth. This is proven. The industry, the leadership are here to explain to Prime Minister. Now, imagine we're going to have a regular race in St. Lucia to start with 100 to 200 horses. We're talking about 1,000 people. Do we have 1,000 labor forces ready? And we don't need them to be university or college graduate. I can pull them off the street and pay them and train them. This is point number 1. And we are putting our hard dollar. We have no single cent, Prime Minister, sponsors from the government. We are putting every dollar into this project. Now, you're asking me, Mr. Teo, are you making a lot of money from here? I said, ask me again in 10 years' time. This is real. I'm speaking to you because as a love of horses and the sports, we think if we lay down the groundwork, just like what I told you in Switzerland, people around St. Lucia, people in the south, they start to understand what DSH is all about. Then they take away a lot of misconception that all business and real estate are bloodsucker. They are not. As I said just now, I'm foremost an architect, a professional, reputable architect in the market. Secondly, I happen to love this country. So to put in 30 million, my life saving, I think it's worth it. You might not hear it from many businessmen around the world. I'm here one standing in front of you and telling this. It sounds unreal, but we hope by us doing this, other philanthropy, other businessmen from Asia, from Australia, from Europe, all our friends around the world, and say, all right, Teo have done it. And despite all the negative onslaught on him, he's still standing. And we need to help him. And for this effort, we hope that by the end of this year, we can bring 10 businessmen like me come in and help the country. I use the word help. It's not rich man giving a poor man, not the concept. It's philanthropy. It's like we enjoy that. We are with you together. And then the real businessmen will come in. Any project, it starts like this. We are slightly different. I just want everybody to know, don't scare me away. All right? I've been here for 12 months. And every day, no matter where I am, I read about the news. But we take it by strike because I know that because a lot of people don't understand us, there's a lot of things are written, a little bit of, I don't blame them. But we need to have more engagement and you understand us. You study about our philosophy, how we work projects in different countries. And then maybe a more positive article will come out, I hope, soon.
I just want to add because, and I'm trying to learn because I'm new at this job, and in terms of we say things and how it's interpreted or whatever. So I've repeated myself, and I'm happy to continue to repeat myself. I am a person who believes that you must first have a master plan before you can go. Why is Viewfort underachieving? Because there's never been a master plan. All we've given, we have a master tagline. What was it called again? The New Frontier. But there was nothing behind it. There was nothing to sell. So a developer comes down and says, the New Frontier, and there's nothing there. So what we asked Mr. Teo King to do was to put together a plan for the South. Give me a vision for how we tie all these things together. And I think that the combination of him and I have been really fantastic because I've brought in my tourism context, the idea of having a cruise ship port, the idea of changing the direction with the airport, being able to bring some of the other hotels. We've announced canals, we've announced an expansion of Coconut Bay, Black Bay, Sabusha. All these things are coming in collectively together. The redevelopment and investment of agriculture in the South, the reinvestment of the education system in terms of, I mean, I heard an interesting number. In Germany, only 15% of the people have university degrees. You know why? They have a system of apprenticeship and about developing skills. It's not about having a university degree, it's about being a skilled worker. And I'm saying maybe we need to take a page out of that leaf. The same thing in Switzerland. That these are the opportunities I'm taking, transforming our country. So it's taking all the parts and being. So the first thing that he did is put together. His investment is the horse racing track, and he's committed to getting an investment of 1,000 hotel rooms, whether it be 1 hotel, 2 hotels, or 3 hotels. And also the casino is what he's done. Every other component now, what he's doing, I call him, he's in Australia, he's in New Zealand, he's back in Singapore, he's in New York, selling the project to individual investors. So you're now getting individual people coming in, and yes, what he's selling them is, here's a vision, here's an incredible island, here's an opportunity. And in addition to that, there's additional revenues available through the CIP program. The CIP program was not changed to help him. In fact, the changes to the CIP program, he was upset because he had in his mind that he was going to be getting $300,000 coming in through the investment. And I said to him, Teo, that does not work out to the benefit of the people of this country. The $300,000 goes in, we have no accountability as to where the money is going. So what I want to do is to raise money, put it into the sovereign fund, and the sovereign fund now will invest money back into the investment. And that we're very keen on investment money going back into the infrastructure of the project because it doesn't just benefit him, it also benefits everybody in the South. So the goal here is that 100% of this project is not going to be paid for by CIP. We would be waiting forever to make that happen. But what he's doing is he's creating a tremendous opportunity. So the government has also passed headquarters legislations. The idea of getting offshore companies to open up their facilities here in St. Lucia. And I've said to you, the development of St. Jude's, the development of our infrastructural facilities, improving the security of our country, all make St. Lucia more attractive. So I just want to say that this project is not just Mr. Teo Ah King. DSH is not going to be the person putting the $2.6 billion in by themselves. But what we're doing is we're creating the opportunity for $2.6 billion in investment. He's going to be the catalyst. So he's building the horse racing track. Horse racing track is not a revenue generator, but the horse racing track is a catalyst about putting St. Lucia on the map. Following that, once you have people's attention and now you have this master plan and we can get some parts of the project off the ground, that's how the momentum starts building. There'll be two levels of investment. One level of investment is as a contribution, which is towards the infrastructural development. And then there's an investment in which there is preferred shares or there's a loan. Right? So what we've seen, right, Miguel, is that after 2008, there was no money. So the banks stopped lending, international agencies stopped lending, and so investors now were required to almost literally bring 100% of their money to the table. So let's look at what happened in St. Lucia. We did really well immediately after the recession because what we did is we reduced the cost of operations to the hotels. We went on a hardcore marketing initiative and we grew. When the new government came in, they took away those supports, they increased the level of taxation, right? So everybody started to contract. Now it's only when the Labour Party announced the CIP program that all of a sudden there was a lineup of people to come into St. Lucia. The Canals Project, the Sabochab Project, the Black Bay Project, okay? Teo. Everybody came, because why? There was opportunity of getting money to replace the money that was coming in from the bank before. Let's not forget that, you know. Prior to the announcement of CIP, you couldn't find an investor. The government went through 3 years where it itself was trying to be the investor. It was itself trying to stimulate the economy, and it couldn't do it. So I'm saying when we came in, I'm a supporter of the CIP, not because I want to sell our sovereignty, but because of exactly that issue. And it's been successful. The key is how do we make it work towards solutions? And that's why I'm saying putting the money into a sovereign fund means that St. Lucians absolutely know on a daily basis where their sovereignty has been invested. They can see it. And there has to be accountability, and we're going to be directing where the funds go versus the money going into $300,000. I've looked through the Caribbean and St. Kitts and my neighboring friends, and I've seen the flaws that that has created. You get a lot of projects that start and don't finish because we have no control. That's what we're trying to change around. But let's not underestimate the need for us to be able to find resources, not only for foreign direct investment, but also for our local businesses. So the sovereign fund is not just exclusively for the foreigners coming in here, but there are locals who are struggling to go to the bank. The small businesses that are struggling to get off the ground. The difference is the money in the sovereign bank is what we call free capital. It has no obligations on it. So it means it's money we can take a bit more risk on. And we're bringing in a financial management team in order to make sure that we are some risky things that we're going to do, and there's some less risky things, but we make sure that we're earning and getting a positive return on the money that we're investing in. So the framework agreement is binding in that the government of St. Lucia has pledged that it's going to support the project, and it's committed to seeing the development of the project. And there are some basic general aspects to it and some guidelines in the framework agreement that we're agreeing to, whether it be tax incentives, whether it be in terms of land use, whether it be in terms of how we're going to regulate the industry. As time goes by, and if in fact things are impractical and it doesn't work out, then we have the option of renegotiating that component of it. So for instance, we said that we would have closed and moved the garbage dump. All right? When we got to the point where I realized how much money it was going to cost, I had a meeting with Teo. I said, Teo, I'm sorry, but we don't have the resource to do that. I don't have the technology to do that. I cannot guarantee you that I can close it down and that you can use the land. And I don't even know when you can lose the land, so I'm not able to fulfill that part of the agreement. And we sat down and renegotiated.
I didn't bring lawyers.
So what I'm saying to you, it's binding. We're binding in that we're committed to making this project happen, and he needed to know that we're committed to making this thing happen. We have some general framework ideas that we're working on. As information comes available to us, then we adjust. And what we want to do is to be able to get to a final line in which now we can have a formal agreement that we can then move on for. So I don't think any investor would have moved forward to spend $30 million, to spend the amount of money that he's been spending and bringing people here and the time that he's putting in, if he didn't have some kind of binding agreement. He also needs that if he's going to be going out to get third-party support for these things, he must be able to show those investors, I have a commitment from the government. Only 6 projects right now are approved by CIP. Am I right? So only 6 developments are currently approved by CIP. Desert Star, believe it or not, is not one of them. Okay? And this is what I'm trying to hope that we can make a change in, is that the facts.
So is it incorrect that the purchase of the thoroughbred is not a qualifying CIP investment?
It hasn't not even been approved through the CIP program as yet. I mean, this is the point that I keep saying to everybody, is that we're not even there yet. We're in discussions. Lots of things are thrown out. Yes, was an idea presented that we should include the CIP as part and have a horse? It was discussed. And I remember saying to Teo, unfortunately, horses die. You know, so I don't have the idea of, you know, that you go down there and say, may he rest in peace, CIP, right? I mean, we can discuss these things openly because we've had these discussions, okay? Hopefully the people of St. Lucia have a bit more faith in its government that we're going to negotiate the best deal that we can. Can we report on speculation? That's what I'm saying to you. Who is the person asking the question? Right? Christopher Hunt, in my mind, right, has a bias, and that's okay. But let's call it what it is. What are the facts that he has to present on any of the information that he's presenting? But do you hear me? I don't care. That's the freedom of St. Lucia. But I would hope that legitimate media people houses make that separation between what is speculation and what is reality. It's very simple. Go to the CIP website and find out for yourself. Is DSH one of the projects that's on it? That's how easy it is to confirm. So in fact, if it's not been confirmed, okay, none of those details will work out. That is what we're trying to work out. As a general rule, the government does not want to see more than 40% of the money coming for any investment to come from CIP. That's a general rule.
40% maximum.
That's a general rule. Okay? So I don't think that any project, 100% of the money should come from CIP. CIP, to me, should be helping to fill that gap. So if up to 40% can come from CIP, if then now the developer can bring 20, 30% of his own money, and then you have banks and financial institutions providing the most, that's the kind of balance that you want to be able to incur. Are there probably going to be some exceptions? There might be some exceptions. And this is why we're putting the money into the sovereign fund, because the sovereign fund now gives us greater latitude. I have no difficulty if you want to have straight CIP, and you can use up to 40% of that money. And then if you want to borrow money from my sovereign fund, of which we now retain the first charge on the land, okay? And you can get money for 15 years or 20 years with a moratorium, monies that you couldn't get available out there. I have no difficulty with that. If you want to have it where the sovereign fund puts money in the form of what we call it preferred shares. So if it's a real estate development, as an example, and we've used this model several times, is that if they have 100 units and they borrow $100 million as an example, every time that they sell a unit, right, that they pay us $1 million back towards where you put in from equity. It means that the developer does not have to put cash out. It also means the developer doesn't have to pay interest on that cash, and that's a way of helping to encourage these developments from taking place. So I just want to say to you that there is no real fixed number. As our general rule, we like it to be 40%. But the CIP is an attractive investment tool. And there are some developments in the region in which 100% of the monies come from CIP. We have tried to say to people, we're limiting our ability, unless somebody really comes with a fantastic idea. But here's another thing I think we need to understand, is that there will be a general CIP agreement with Desert Star, which are the developers. So one is to come with the master plan, then the next thing is to start now putting in the infrastructure for this master plan, okay? So there will be CIP funds going into that portion of it. There are then different real estate developments and different hotels. Each one of those now will have separate agreements with the CIP. As with them, as they have, so they go in to say to the developer, we've already got an agreement from the government, you're approved as a CIP project, this is approved as a CIP project, but there will be a separate contractual agreements with each one of those entities. CIP office only approves the project and then now processes the applications, okay? Once the individual is approved, they then pay the funds to the CIP office. The CIP office maintains 20% of those funds to continue operating their operations. 80% of the money now goes into what's called the Economic Development Fund, okay? Of which the government did not put any regulations in. So it was just a bank account, okay, that can go anywhere. So we're saying that we want to transfer that money now into our sovereign fund. Because one of the things I'm scared of is if we use the CIP monies as recurrent revenue, and then there's a problem in the world, you're going to have a problem like you have in Trinidad. Okay? So we want to make sure that only the returns of the sovereign fund actually comes into your recurrent revenue. All right? So that is how the process is going to work. I've said that the only project, the component of the project that has been approved has been well, don't say yeah, but it's significant. It's significant. Let's not minimize it. And I think that many St. Lucians are underestimating the economic impact of the horse racing track. It's almost like, okay, yeah. But let's look at what we have had to go through for the horse racing track. The same critics were saying, no horse racing track. Why are we starting? So we've gone through, the development has, once the concept was approved, okay, they've now applied to the DCA. So I'm happy to say that the application has been in, the terms of reference for the EIA were approved, and the EIA on their part has been completed, and it's in right now for consideration, and I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks that we're going to get the final approval to be able to move forward with this project. As absurd as I have found the process to be, because some of the referencing agencies, not just the National Trust, okay? So I don't want to, some of them have really come out and asked questions which to me are beyond the scope. But you know what? Given the environment that we're in, that we have chosen not to fight that process, and Mr. Teo and his team have been very kind in agreeing to go through a very stringent process. So that is the only part of the project that's been approved. The concept for the Il Pirata site, we've said in principle we're very happy with that, and I believe that he's in the process of putting together detailed drawings to move ahead. But the one that we've now been spending the majority of our time on has been this. So once we've now agreed at Cabinet to go ahead with this concept, Mr. Teo and his team will now put details to this project, submit it to the DCA. Referral agencies will participate in the process. Now, what I want to say to everybody is that we need to go through a different process. There are changes I'm making at the DCA. So the DCA now will have its own secretariat. And that's something that should have been done a long time ago, because planning and DCA are two different entities. For too long, we've associated the two of them as being one. One is a regulatory agency, which is the DCA. The other one is a planning agency, which is the Ministry of Planning. And because we need to expedite in a quicker way, what we want to do is to bring everybody to the table earlier and allow them to participate in the process of the development of the project. So we're not waiting for the project to be finalized before we can get final approval. So as the project is going, allow those referral agencies and allow the DCA to sit down with them in the planning. Hey, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. Let's make it this way. All right? And then bring in the independent people to be able to make the assessment, the final assessment on moving forward. If we have to wait like we've had for a horse racing track, we're going to be in trouble. The world is just not going to wait that long. But at the same time, I am not going to bend on the standards in St. Lucia. But there are ways of, and other countries have used them, of changing the process of the application by getting people involved from the onset to get going. So there are lots of good examples here in St. Lucia when we've done that. There are examples around the world that's been done very, very successfully. So the goal is to try to fast track this as much as possible without compromising the standards of St. Lucia. So that is the next step. We've had meetings today with a group out of Latin America that basically televise horse races around the world. So they're meeting here in terms of our gaming authority people with Invest in terms of what that next step is, because the horse racing track has not only the employees of taking care of the horses, we have to build up the quarantine part of it, we have to build up the gaming part of it, and then there is all of the other support networks. And we have to make sure that all those things are in place before we can do the first horse race here in St. Lucia.
Thank you for having myself here and my team, and we continue to work very closely, and I hope that we can also get to know the media a little bit better, so that and you guys know a little bit more about us, and then I think they smoothen out, and at the end, the ultimate, I think it's a quality of life that we think what can happen here, and you have great resources, talented people that I met, and so far all the St. Lucian I met are genuinely very, very friendly people. Doesn't matter whether north or south, because as a foreigner, I came here, I keep hearing about south, north. To me, it's one country, right? But I particularly, I think there's a great opportunity where the Prime Minister and his cabinet are putting focus in an area that, in my mind, professionally, has been neglected. And you have important infrastructure like what we call it as a district. An airport is a district, and the district need to have surrounding facilities, amenity to support it. And that's what we're trying to do based on our best ability. Thank you.